Hi, I'm Victoria.
I'm Grace.
And we're Colors of Cannabis.
Guys, pack a bowl, get your joints ready, because we're about to sesh and talk.
That came out perfect. I'm really glad we practiced.
We practiced, guys. I don't know if you're still with us 3 weeks in, but last week we were a little nervous. We might have gotten a little more elevated than planned.
Definitely.
And
no, shout out to Fig Farms of the Moonana.
Oh man. Moonana. Like, I'm gonna sing about it.
It was amazing.
That was actually some of the best weed I've had in a while. And we had agreed never to plug brands, but sometimes there really just are exceptional brands that you have to mention.
And like, it's genuine, right? Like, if we're talking about cannabis and we're a cannabis podcast and we're cannabis users, like, I genuinely love sharing the weed that I'm smoking on. Like, it's a joy in life when you're proud of, like, oh, look at the weed I got.
I'd actually never heard of Fig Farms, so she knows I'm such a snob and I'm like really hesitant to try new stuff. So for me to afterwards admit to her, whenever we smoked,
yeah.
like, I was almost like a little just too elevated. I really kind of underrated how strong it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it was definitely a creeper. Like, that's a term I used to use all the time, but that was a creeper.
I'll give you that.
I was so faded by the end of our discussion last week, but I loved it. You know, you talked about being a little bit of a snob when it comes to cannabis, and I'm so not a snob because I buy everything and I try everything.
She does.
Over a certain dollar amount.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. I think everybody kind of has a budget.
Well, it's not even just the budget. Like, knowing now what the price points that people are selling lower quality cannabis at, I know where they're putting them. And so it's like, okay, well, I don't really want to smoke things of that quality. Do you find that to be like, true?
No.
Yeah.
That is true. I mean, I won't plug a brand I don't like.
Yeah, no, I won't.
But there are brands where, and not just the first time. I'll give brands a second try, because you never know. It might just be, it might be the way that the collective is storing it,
right?
And not necessarily, because of the actual quality from the brand. So I'll give it like a second shot. But there are some brands where it's consistently what I like to call commercial weed.
Or you know what? It's a budget brand. Like, it's meant for people on a certain budget, and I really think that's what it is. Like,
I'm thinking more of not like a specific budget brand, but one that's maybe mid-level or even high sometimes, where their name is kind of more the hype than the cannabis, and like it gets lost in that. Like, it's like the Tiffany's of sterling silver.
Right.
It's sterling silver, guys.
Those brands didn't have as high quality cannabis as I would have liked to have consumed. I would have liked to have consumed at first, but I feel like they're getting better, right? Like, they're realizing,
I'll give you that.
They're realizing they just can't push to, like, the tourists coming through Southern California, because let's be real, with COVID, tourism is down.
I thought you said the Taurus.
Yeah.
I'm a Taurus.
Oh, no.
Because my birthday's in May.
No.
So I thought she was saying the Taurus of SoCal, and I was like, yeah, represent. It makes a little more sense. I was like, wow, I didn't know the stars were in my favor.
But I think they're realizing, like, their consumer is probably someone who's been smoking weed for a minute. And they're getting better about putting higher quality cannabis into their Tiffany styled brands.
Oh, I like this. Can I put you in the hot seat for a minute?
Yeah.
So last week we started with red, and I was trying to get it like really red hot. Like, I was like, sex. Just straight up. And I'm curious, because now we've had a chance to see it, and I'm curious. I feel like you were a little reserved.
I was. You're not tripping when you say you picked up on that vibe.
I was a little scared to say it. I just felt like, what?
No. And like, it's really hard for me to admit because I'm actually a very sex positive person. I don't think there's anything wrong with
And being
talking about
reserved is
it.
cool with that.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with talking about it and living your life openly, but it's funny, as soon as you started to get a little spicier last week,
I tried.
immediately, like some internalized, like patriarchal, misogynistic stuff really started happening in me. And even though we discussed, like, before we did this podcast, that we're going to be really open about our lives and
We
things
did.
that we're experiencing, all of a sudden it became really real that, oh, I'm going to have to open up about myself. And I work in this world of males who judge women,
And females who judge women, to be fair.
yes, females that judge women as well, you're right,
But
they
there are
weren't,
more males.
they
You're right.
weren't even who I was worried about. Like, it immediately became about the men that I work with, the clients I serve. How are they going to view me if they know these personal things about me? Are they going to dwell on them when I'm trying to interact with them? And how does that relate now to my business world? And all of a sudden it became really real, and I did become way more reserved because I realized, like, they will have their thoughts and opinions about this, but I have to be okay with that because I chose to be authentic to myself.
Ooh. But that's fair, and it brings up a good point that I'm not sure why that is. You know, we kind of have this mentality where like men have that like high five kind
Yeah.
of, and we all know what I mean when I say the high five mentality. At least I hope we do. Where it's, you know, it's promoted, it's seen as like, it's encouraged, promoted, and seen as something that's a positive, just something that's like rewarded, like, oh, you did it, you're the
Yeah.
champion.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a
We're
thing.
champions too.
It's still a thing. I feel like images, like the male image is changing a lot.
Mhm.
It's different, but like the people that I interact with in my age group are not this newer generation of male, right? Like, they're still very much like, there's certain roles and lanes that each gender stays in.
Okay. I see that with like, I want to say older, but I guess I mean my age group and
Yeah,
older.
right? Because
I forget.
we're not spring chickens, dude.
No.
Like,
Hey, we don't need to out anyone here. Anyways, no, but I see what you're saying, and you're right. It's like some weird part of me wanted to fight your statement and wanted
Yeah.
to say no, and women too. But I am seeing more and more women empowerment. I'm not saying
Yeah.
there's not, you know, bad on both sides, but I am seeing more women supporting women, women
Yeah.
coming together, women kind of going, hey, that's right, that's not okay. And, you know, more and more, I think even myself, who thinks
Yeah.
I'm so open minded, I'm starting to see more and more as women speak up, wow, yeah, that has happened to me too in the workplace. And I don't want to go too into it because I want to take more time
Yeah.
in a future day and go really deep into that. And maybe even get somebody else out here to,
Yeah.
like a specialist or just someone in that field
Yep.
to talk to us. But I did want to address that because I thought, what's going on? Red hot, and then I felt your sizzle drizzle.
I freaking love you.
My schnizzle.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, you did. It went from being something we talked about to a reality, and something I realized, like, me being authentic to myself is like still something I'm doing. Like, I don't change who I am, but how I share that, I probably do have to put more thought into how it comes across, because I don't want anybody to feel like, and when I say anybody, like the other person I'm in a 10-year relationship with,
Right.
to feel like I'm sharing things that they're not ready to share and be authentic with about, you know? So it was things that just all of a sudden happened, and I thought about them for a week, and it was really nice to be able to talk to you about it and be like, oh yeah, that did happen.
Yeah. And you know
You
that
picked
brings
up on
it, well, yeah, I just thought, wait a minute, I know things.
Yeah. Our energies are really in sync with one another for you to even realize, like, oh, she changed a little bit, because we have very open and honest conversations.
Yeah, and we want to keep it open with you guys.
Yeah.
As much as we can within respecting privacy. And so, I mean, really, this week with Red Hot, we thought we'd do just that, and keeping it real, kind of just give you guys our week to week, and they're different. For Victoria, she's been in a long-term committed marriage, and they have a family and kids. I don't even have a living plant. It's just me. And then my dating, and I have, partners that smoke, and some that don't consume cannabis or consume it in different ways. But yeah, so in keeping it real, I had a trip this weekend, and I don't mean of the flight nature, if that's a thing.
I love
it. Cannabis was part of it, but this week used some psychedelics to kind of, I guess, try to take things. No, but I don't know what we can and can't say. So we'll just keep it at psychedelics, and you can come up with your own conclusions. But one of the natural form? No, that's not true. Anyways,
we'll leave that alone.
So yeah, and I know this is kind of more a cannabis thing, but as we veer closer and closer to decriminalizing psychedelics, I'm gonna go there, because Colors of Cannabis is a segue, is a starter into something bigger, into choices, because there's lots of other natural things out there and experiences that will come to fruition, I think, in the near future. And I think cannabis has opened the gateway to that.
I agree. Cannabis has opened the gateway to it. Like, you look at what happened in Oregon, and let me tell you, I would like to go on a vacation once it's safe to do some traveling.
A trip and a trip.
Maybe try some things I haven't tried before. We'll see. But I shared with you, and I'm comfortable sharing it. I recently tried mushrooms for the first time in 10 years. I hadn't done them.
Oh, wow.
I hadn't done them since I was, 21 and living in my own apartment. And
did you dive in, or kind of a micro?
Really irresponsible. No, I dove in.
She dove.
But when I say I dove in, like, still, I ate one stem and one cap. And they were very, very small. I know. Look at that look.
She didn't dive in.
But for 5 hours.
She jumped into the shallow end.
I jumped into the shallow end.
Cautiously.
I did.
With floaters, maybe. No. She jumped into the shallow end.
I jumped into the shallow end. Yeah. And I'm comfortable with that. It was the first time in 10 years. I didn't know what it was going to be like.
That's fair. And
these mushrooms are lab grown. Like, I can't say too much, but a young woman that I know.
Definitely don't.
Yeah, she has, though, invested in building out a medical grade lab to grow mushrooms in, and is doing stuff called single cell dilution to consistently create the same strain of mushrooms and the same potency and everything, because I did not know there were 36,000 spores of mushrooms.
Wow.
Yeah.
I definitely thought it was like a 20 or under range.
36,000 different types of spores. So when you talk about using mushrooms as medicine, like they're talking about,
I'm ready for this challenge.
You have to know how to grow them consistently. So these were really strong mushrooms, and I jumped into the shallow end. For 5 hours, I laughed and giggled and had the most amazing night with my husband. I'm gonna be real. Like, I thought it was gonna be sexy time.
No.
I did. I really did. I thought this is going to be amazing. I dressed up kind of cute. Ooh. Yeah, we were in...
See, this was the red I was looking for.
We were in a really beautiful suite in Vegas. We were having an amazing trip.
I guess what happens in Vegas is not staying there this weekend.
It's not. And, nothing happened except I laughed at him for 5 hours.
Oh, no.
Everything he said was funny. Magically, he became the funniest person I've ever heard.
See, that's cute, though. That's cute.
Life. It was.
And I don't get that. I don't get very, I don't want to say I don't get turned on, but, when I'm on a psychedelic, as I especially discovered recently, it's not really a sexual thing. I feel like you have so much else going on. And
Yes.
I don't know. I definitely found myself
I really thought
doing
it
a
was
lot
going to
more
be a sexy
thinking.
type thing. I really
Yeah.
did.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But actually then, and I think I already mentioned to you, it was late. I was now tired. It had been a long trip, literally mentally a long trip.
Right.
And I ended up using an edible, which
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that. But I used just a 10 milligram edible. And I will say this, when an edible is dosed properly, they work. Like they work for what they're supposed to do. I just needed something to help me sleep, to help shut down. I wasn't trying to get lit. I wasn't trying to get high, but if this 10 milligram edible didn't just do the trick. I was so, so grateful. It helped me shut down. Yeah.
I love it. I love edibles. Edibles do make me feel sexy. I have a very high tolerance.
Oh, that's what a dork. That's where I was going with that. So then the whole trip I wasn't feeling anything like that.
Until
and now, right, then I take the edible. Now the only counter effect is I was now tired. So it was a fine balance of like, do I want to fall asleep finally?
Or are you trying to get it on? Yeah. Yeah.
I'm very sad to say I fell asleep, but
no, you shouldn't be sad that happened.
it's okay. The future, it was good.
How do you feel about like the mornings when nobody's brushed their teeth yet?
It depends on the person.
Right?
Yes. Some people.
I mean, not that I've had a different person in 10 years.
I know. Let's clarify. Well, I'm glad you still remember, actually.
Right?
But yeah, I feel like this is so weird. I don't think I've ever talked about this. Some people, I feel like, is it that you're so into them or something? And probably the taste works for you. Maybe it's also a pheromone thing. But some people, you're like, you don't give a shit. You're like, yes. You're all in it. And then some people, you get up early and you make sure that
teeth are brushed, things are washed.
And there's definitely been people where I don't tolerate their funk.
Yeah. No,
and
that's
it's funk. It goes from like being cute to funk.
That's, I think, how I knew I liked my husband. And
That's good.
and we were going to make it work was like, his smells didn't bother me.
That's really good.
I mean, that's the truth, though. It is. I mean, yeah.
I definitely want my lifelong partner to have, I guess, morning breath that I liked.
Yes. That matters.
Oh, can I ask you? Okay. So that's funny you said that, because when I smoke weed, and like I'm dating, I'm not like monogamously with anyone, but when I'm dating, I still get really anxious when I'm kissing someone after I've smoked a bowl. So I have, and now they'll know, I have gum by the bed. I have like gum all around. I'll just swish mouthwash after, because especially if my partner isn't a cannabis consumer. So how do you combat like the cotton mouth and or breath of like consuming cannabis with your partner?
Now that I'm thinking about it, this is really hard for me to admit.
Oh.
Really hard for me to admit.
I want to hear it now more than ever.
But we get it on a lot of the times after we've gotten like lit as hell in our office.
That's awesome.
And yes, agreed. But we don't really
do
kiss.
You get it on in the office, or do you mean we get high like as
the gaming chair is currently broken?
Oh, I know her husband.
But
the kids go to bed at 8.
8:30.
I didn't even know what time they went to bed, but that's funny.
But we don't really kiss because of the cotton mouth, and I just realized that because of our
do you do like the nuzzle?
We're really focused on the end goal.
Oh. That might be a byproduct of being married.
Yeah.
Because I feel like
I think it is.
And this is, no, it's not a guess because I used to be married. I feel like when you're married, you're right. You're like, all right, I know your style. And I was married 10 plus years, so you know each other's style. you know what to do. And I don't want to say it's not a race, but it's like
it's not a race.
I know where I need to go. So let me get to town.
Next. I know what's going to happen next. And it's predictable and it's not unappreciated. like you don't need to always be creative. In fact, it takes longer, I think, for a woman to get there when you're trying to figure out how to get there.
Agreed. I struggle with trying to like please my partner versus just enjoying it in the moment.
Right.
And because, you know, I don't think I've had anything over 6 months in a minute. A long minute.
Right. COVID.
Well, yeah, COVID too, big time. But because of that, I think it's like you said, there isn't a consistency, and so you're like learning things new, and then again, smoking comes into play, whether or not my partner consumes cannabis.
Yeah.
Because I am a little more conscious of certain things. And by the way, whether or not my partner consumes cannabis, I'm still consuming cannabis before we get it on.
Yeah.
I'm not going to change that for my partner. And I think if that person's going to be with me, even if they don't use cannabis, they don't care that I might want to take that bowl before we take that. Oh, never mind.
You know, but
there was only one thing that rhymed that I could think of, and it wasn't good.
While we're talking about smoking and like before things, like I'm just going to go there. Mm-hmm. So like we're in the holidays.
Yeah.
And we're going to be enjoying a lot of time with family. They might be coming over to your house, things like that. My family, at least I will have quite a few of my mom and my dad. They'll be hosting. They'll be there late at night. I'll have the kids. Should we change to purple?
Oh, are we skipping green?
I thought we were going to do purple. From red to purple.
Sure. Doesn't really make any difference.
I forgot.
There doesn't have to be a structure.
There doesn't. I thought we were doing red and purple and green.
I looked at your hand.
I've had this the whole time.
And I thought dating, kissing, safety, kissing.
No, I was going to say, so one of the things that is...
that no longer made sense because they don't know what that is.
No. So with the holidays kind of in the house, right?
She won.
I did. With the holidays going on. So one of the things like my husband and I are kind of combating is like we do have different people coming out of the house. And they're all people in our COVID pod. Like my mom, my dad, my nanny, my nanny's boyfriend. I have to make sure the nanny is a happy woman, actually. You talk about
happy
like,
nanny, happy kids, happy life.
Yeah, really. So I have to make sure like she's well taken care of too. But like now all of a sudden like things have changed. Like we can't smoke and do our thing like we do. Like we do have a set schedule for what we do during the week. Like there are set days for the times that we're getting it on. Yes, like that's just the reality of married life and kids. Like on a Monday night after coming home from work, like, and cooking dinner, like nobody's trying to do anything. And the holidays make it even worse. Like it's just, it's crazy. And now I want to smoke a bowl.
Oh, yes. There's still something in there. The holidays are going to be interesting this year. I think it's going to be a little bit different because of COVID. But I hope one thing stays the same.
What?
I have like a weird family tradition, I guess. I mean, I guess not a family tradition. Maybe it's just like a cousin tradition.
Look at me, I almost forgot.
Oh, did I have? Yeah, mine's there. I'll keep it with me. So every year, this is so weird. So one year, actually, I'll back it up. One year, we go, to my aunt's house. Every year we go to a different aunt's house for Christmas. And I get to my aunt's house, and of course, I'm going to have to sneak out. Yes, even as an adult, like sneak out to smoke weed before we have our dinner. So I don't remember exactly when it was. I want to say it's been 10 plus years, like 10 plus for sure, maybe even 15. But one year, I'll give you a second. Use your hazy mug. One year, I go out for my like routine, pre-meal smoke, And as I'm going out, I notice like one of my cousins is heading to his car. And I think coincidence, no big deal. Then I noticed another one of my cousins heading on like a little walk. And once I saw a third person, and we all know food's coming, like I start kind of thinking, and I finally am just like, hey, everybody, are we all about to do the same thing? And sure enough, everybody was on their way to smoke weed somewhere in their car, on a walk. So suddenly, all of us, me and all my cousins, and I had never even known they smoked weed because, as I said, I only came out green to my family a few years ago.
Pretty recently, yeah.
So here we go, me and all my cousins, and then that became a thing. So for almost 15 years now, every year before we go for the holidays, we all step out before we eat, and it's like become this whole thing. And then it even adapted. It grew to we smoke. Well, I think we all smoke before the meal too, but we smoke after the meal, and we take 3 cars and go to the movies. And here's the funny thing. 2 of the cars are cannabis consuming cars, and 1 isn't. And we have to figure it out because for a long time, the 2 youngest couldn't know and had to be in a different car. So I don't know if it's like that for you, but during our holidays, I now have a clan of cousins that we all go and we blaze in one form or another.
So up until like the last 3 or 4 years, we were hiding our cannabis use from my dad. And when I say we, I mean myself, my mom, and my husband.
Oh my God. Okay.
At all the holiday events because my dad is in law enforcement. No, my real dad and my mom, yeah, they're divorced. But
okay.
My stepdad, yeah, he's the one who raised me. He's in law enforcement, and so he's not really a fan of cannabis until pretty recently. And so we would have to hide our cannabis use from him, and this was like the fucking ridiculous shit. So we had an alarm on my doors and on my windows in my house, which started from when I was 16.
Wait,
so
like a censored like alarm?
Yes. So anytime a window or a door opens, you hear a beep. And now I have to backtrack because I feel like you need to know this about me.
Oh, yeah.
But when I was 16, I was sneaking out of the house so much that my parents decided to put the alarms on the windows.
I see.
So you could never open the windows more than 4 inches without the alarms going off. And they thought I was never going to get out of the house ever again. And so at this time, like, they weren't that internet savvy. Like, now they're like super great on smartphones and stuff, but like the internet was still somewhat new. Like, they were getting used to it. But I was all about the internet. Like, I'd grown up on the internet.
Yeah.
And so I Googled, how do you bypass an ADT home alarm?
What the heck?
And apparently it was as simple as taking a kitchen magnet and putting it on the sensor at the very top of the window, which is exactly what I did. And I was out till all hours of the night for most of my youth. And they didn't know that until fairly recently when I shared with them some stories that blew their mind.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I was not that high tech.
I was devious. I was a teacher's aide in the high school office getting straight A's. Literally did the homework. It was really well read. Got great grades, but I skipped so much class. I would go to class like once or twice a week, get all the assignments, and bounce out and do whatever I wanted for the rest of the week, my junior and senior year.
I think as long as you're getting your work done, it's just a personal opinion, but like if you're a kid and you're getting straight A's and you're getting the work done, who cares?
Agreed,
you know?
but legally you have to attend a certain amount of school.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I was skipping so much school that in the first 90 days, I had missed 50 days and got straight A's. But my parents didn't know that because on Microsoft,
is this? Don't share it.
on Microsoft Word, I figured out how to make an exact duplicate using table to make my progress reports and my final report card. And because I was a teacher's aide, I stole the envelopes and mailed them to myself.
What?
Devious child, yes.
I'm not even trying to understand that, but I don't know if you
I made a
should
fake
divulge
report
more of
card
this.
and mailed it to myself. Yes. Devious child.
I wonder if we should edit that out.
My mother let me register myself starting in junior year, and I had a cell phone.
Oh my god.
And instead of like putting, "Hi, this is Victoria," I let it play the phone numbers, and I used that phone number so that they would call my parents every time I missed school. And it was my voicemail.
My parents thought I was a bad kid, and I like hope they hear this.
Yeah. But I was a straight A student. And I was really, really proud about that. And so were they.
No, it's funny because I know who you are today, and I know your work ethic, and I know how successful you are. So I'm like, whew, I'm like, dang, we're in purple, but it feels red. Like, I'm gonna hit this.
I'm like, in the tank of where you would normally put window washing fluid, someone may have installed whiskey. I mean, there were stories from high school. I was a horrible child. So I did all of this without my parents knowing. So it blows my mind that to this day, during the holidays, whenever we would go out to smoke and they would hear the alarm, my dad still didn't know I was going out to smoke weed. He still didn't know.
Wow.
Didn't know. And I don't know why.
You know, I never mailed anything. I don't know that I committed that level of but I actually, when I was younger, I used to take, and by younger I guess I mean high school. I didn't drink, but my friends did.
Yeah.
So they'd come over, and my parents would only leave for like 1 or 2 hours. They barely ever left at all, if at all. But we would take the alcohol. Sometimes we'd even just, in front of them, just pour it into something, whatever. And we weren't like bad kids.
Yeah.
We'd sit there and watch TV or just do lame things. But we would drink, and I wouldn't know what to do with the bottles and stuff. And so in my dad's office, in the closet, there was this kind of pull out in the ground, and it went into the crawl out space under. So I just started throwing things under there, and I would smoke cigarettes, and I know, terrible. I quit. Thank you.
I smoked cigarettes in high school too. It's such a bad habit.
So terrible.
Yeah.
It was totally different. It was the 90s. Everybody did it. Kurt Cobain had died. It was a sad time. So we'd smoke cigarettes and we'd drink, and we'd throw these things under this crawl space. So now fast forward.
Yeah.
It's like it's Christmas or New Year's or something, and we got all the family over and the uncles and stuff. And my dad starts sharing with everyone. He's like, yeah, the weirdest thing happened. I was cleaning out the crawl space, and do you know what I found? And I'm like, oh, shit, this is it. You know, like he's about to tell them. He's like going to publicly shame me. Why would he do that? And he's like, you know what I found? The alcohol, the cigarette packs. And I'm like, oh, crap, here we go. And he says, it must be when we had the work done on the house, when they were underneath, all the time they are partying.
Yep. I love it.
I could not believe it. I felt so bad. Like,
because when you're genuinely like a good kid and you're well behaved and nice and sweet and you get good grades, like you can get away with the worst.
They did not suspect. No. But my mom used to, when I smoked cigarettes, I hid it. And back then, my mom actually thought I smoked weed, and I didn't.
Yeah.
And she would come up, and she'd hug me.
Yeah.
And she would, like sniff me.
Yeah.
And I would look at her so weird, and she'd go, you think I am dumb? I know you are smoking weed. And I'm like, and I wasn't.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I guess you are dumb. Like, yes, I'm not smoking weed. And she would insist, like, I know. And it's like, I wasn't. I was literally smoking cigarettes, but I didn't have the heart to tell her.
Oh, my God. So it's the reason my mom started smoking again is me.
Weed or a cigarette?
Weed.
Okay. Right choice.
when my mom met my stepdad, they got married after 3 months, and they've now been married 20 years.
Hey.
Right, amazing. Good for them. But one of the things that they talked about was that my mom needed to quit smoking weed because my dad was in the Navy for a long time. He was going to be a correctional officer for the state of California. He was going to be in law enforcement.
What point in the 20 years did this happen?
This was 3 months into their relationship.
Oh.
He was like, let's get married, but you got to stop smoking weed. And she was like, I'm down. And that worked for many, many years. I was really young. I was like 11 years old. And so then when I was like 17 years old, I got baked one day in my living room at my house.
Oh, you're brave. I'm like hiding in sheds.
I'm telling you, I was the type of kid that did not give a fuck. I had no fear of anything. I was having hotel parties at 16 years old. And I just had no fear of what was going to happen. And I wanted to live life to the fullest. And that's just not really living life to the fullest. It was just doing really stereotypically fun things, but they were fun.
But wait, go back to your...
So, anyways, I'm smoking one day and I get wasted in the living room and completely baked. And I leave to go hang out with my girlfriends. And I leave my bong and my weed.
Elevated, not really wasted.
Yeah.
Can't help it, I guess.
Faded. And no, but it was so different at that time. Like getting high then was so different though than it is now. And I left everything just in the living room. And my mom came home and she smoked all my weed.
That is not where I thought that story was going. For anybody listening, were you waiting for the part where her mom came home and flipped her shit? Not smoked her shit, flipped her shit.
I mean, it was apparently like, 7-8 years that they'd been married, and she saw it there and decided to smoke all my weed and asked me if I could get more of it, and I was like...
Oh my, okay, that's funny. Because I'm just imagining your mom, after like 7-8 years of not smoking weed, comes home, sees her daughter's shit, and it's just like, I'm going to smoke this.
She was down and smoked all of it. And like our relationship changed drastically at that point.
Wow.
We became friends after hating each other. I was
How old were you?
Even though I was a good kid, she knew I was very willful, and maybe we didn't get along because of that. I was 17 when that happened.
Nice. I feel like my mom had found weed and a pipe at that point. I'm trying to think. I didn't really smoke weed in high school. I tried it, and then I didn't really smoke till college, and like later into college, like towards the end. But my parents had definitely found stuff at that point, but the reaction was very different. My mom freaked.
Yeah.
And I lied.
Yeah.
And, I think I played every card. Like, it's my friends.
Yeah.
I think we all tried that. Then they don't go for that. They never go for that. And then it's like, what else did I go with? This is funny. Then I told my mom it wasn't weed. Yeah. And I said it quite confidently. That's not weed. It's for like a science project or some shit. For real. And she called over my neighbor, who was younger and hipper, and I think she just thought maybe had tried or seen it, and was like, "What is this? Is this marijuana?" And my neighbor looked at me, looked at her, and I'm like, "Fuck," right? Like, oops, I don't know if I say fuck, but she's like, "Oh man," and then sure enough, she says, "No, that's not weed." No, that's going to be something else. Maybe for like a project or something. She had my back. I could not believe it. I thought for sure, 100%, I'm done. It's over. My mom didn't know what to do because now she's looking at her like I brought her.
Yeah.
And yeah. I don't know if she believed her 100%, but she just she was done at that point.
Yeah, no, once my mom and I were on the same page, she realized, like, I had changed because I went from being, like, really reserved because it was hard for me to talk to people to being like more confident. And like, so she encouraged it. She was like, if this is what you need to be like, okay, then it is what it is.
Wow.
But yeah, it really changed our
Mine got there
relationship.
way later. I'll give them that. Like I tease and I joke about my mom and dad,
Yeah.
but they got there.
Yeah.
And that's huge.
I think just getting there is half the, for anything in your life, right? It's like half the battle. Like, how do you get there with things?
You know, that's part of like kind of what this show is about is breaking stigmas.
Yeah.
I think when I look at you, I could never have imagined like your life experiences. And then I think in a different way, when people look at me, they don't think that I am a all day user. And I just mean that I incorporate cannabis in my life in all ways. It's not that I'm just blazed all day or sorry, elevated all day, but I use cannabis in all forms of life. I know we both share in that. Like we, I will say this. Cannabis is genuinely just it brings together a group of people that share the love of a plant.
Yeah.
And that's so beautiful when you think about it because people come together for different reasons, whether it's for a sporting event, over food,
Right.
over drinks.
Right.
And now we're finally allowed legally over this plant.
Yeah.
And it's just so cool. And there's so many just different colors and facets of the plant that, I mean, shit, we could have so many different discussions.
I'm looking forward to sharing cannabis with my COVID pod for the holidays.
Oh, COVID pod. That will end with green this week because safety. We are in a pandemic still. We are at our second shutdown. Ooh, we have the new year. And with the new year, I think we'd all hoped that it would be done by now. But what is done anymore? I think it's just, again, new normals. There's going to be a lot of new things that are going to come. But there are things that you could do to be safe. We got you one today.
Thank
you. We're trying, we're together all the time. So it's probably a little different. But we had kind of a debate today that we'll share with you guys and we'll open to you guys to comment on amongst yourselves and just kind of what you think. So I'm going to show you first this cool thing. So on the end of my bong, which I apologize, it's not that clean due to COVID, isopropanol 90% is extremely hard and rare to get. So this is the best we got right now. Anyways, putting it in the wrong spot, putting it in the wrong hole. It's not red, people. Okay. So I know. So this right here is super cool. It is a company called Moose Labs, and they make the mouthpiece, and peace like peace sign, and so mouth piece Moose Labs. Anyways, and they're not a sponsor or anything, guys. We just freaking anything. If we ever actually bring up a brand, it's because we personally love that brand and use it. It's not because somebody's telling us to or for any other reason. So, COVID safety. Here we go. Check it out, guys. Not only can you attach it to any piece or flip it over and put like a joint or a blunt inside the other side, but so it's like one layer of like, look, it has a lanyard on it. So I have my lanyard. So now I'm at a very safe, less than 6 people,
socially distanced,
whatever. Or like a moment like this where we're sitting next to each other and we have to be next to each other. I attach it and she has one too. Now my lips are only touching the mouthpiece, not the actual glass. We're not sharing anything. We each have our own. And even if she didn't have one, think about it. If you're in a group, it's on them to be safe for themselves. I recommend they all have one. But you take it off, and at least you're protecting yourself. You're protecting anyone else from you possibly carrying something. And added bonus, Victoria, show them what's inside.
A little filter.
Said that very Vanna White. Show them what's on the other side.
I know.
And I'm going to show you something cool. This is just after one bowl. Pull out your clean one. So I've been using this one all day, and she just used this one. Look at the difference. Can you guys see? Go forward, please. Like, look at that. After, this is just a day's worth. All of that would be going into my lungs. So, A, COVID safety. B, ugh, do you even want that in your lungs? It's just personal safety. So, yeah, really cool. So we thought we'd show you guys. I mean, that's what this is about, right?
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, heck yeah.
I'm actually really happy about this. I won't even lie. Because I really do expect to share cannabis with people over the next couple weeks, which, oh my gosh, so stressful, but so excited.
Right? And here, a little demo. Don't mind if I do.
You got your lighter?
Can I ask you to help me out here? I'm going to drop that.
So Grace asked me earlier if COVID lives on cannabis.
No. That's not even how it happened. This is what happened. I said, we got to be using stuff like this. And she said, well, I don't remember exactly what you said, but you said something about COVID safety. And then I said, and you said, okay, with the mouthpiece, we could have COVID safety.
Yeah.
And you said, I could just roll you your own joint.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
So she goes, I got it, the solution. Because I said, what about COVID? How are we going to share weed? She says, I'll roll you your own joint. And I said, what if your joint is a COVID joint? You're literally rolling your COVID joint, and now you're giving me COVID in your joint. So we checked with 2 leading experts in the testing cannabis world.
We checked with 2 microbiologists.
Thank you.
And they concurred that COVID probably can live on cannabis for like 3 days, as it's widely assumed on most surfaces.
Now, wait a minute. One said 3 days. One said 14. So then I said, so basically it's like the CDC and nobody knows shit.
Pretty much.
Just saying. 3 days, 14. Keep your weed to yourself.
Well, I mean, this thing has only been around
I'm
for...
half kidding, half.
Like, what, like 9, 10 months now? Like,
No.
I really...
Because that would have been, what, March?
Yeah, well, no, so like a month or a year now. Since it started in December.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
We don't know, guys. We really don't know at the end of the day. So, really, at the end of the day,
but we did
try
realize
to keep your own weed.
Yeah.
If you are in a situation where you're in a sesh that's socially acceptable, because otherwise, why are you there? Just kidding. Not kidding. Put it inside, and you don't even have to impose your belief system on others. Use your mask responsibly.
Though I 100% believe in science. I will stand by that statement very thoroughly.
Which
I 100% believe in science and scientists. Just as
about
a
the
belief
COVID
system
living on weed?
About most things in general, but I think it's safe to say they know enough to be cautious.
No, and that's the point.
Yeah.
I meant that, like, come on, 3 days, 14 days, so we don't know.
Nobody
knows. We don't know.
knows.
We just know it can live on cannabis in the same way that it can live on other things.
And that got
so
me,
just be safe.
It really got me thinking about the world that we live in. Like, I know large cannabis companies are actually investing in doing weekly and bi-weekly testing on their cannabis employees. But
I'm seeing it more and more. I think most of the leading companies that I can think of that I've worked with have all implemented some type of like new COVID procedures, standard testing. Like, I know some companies are doing 1 to 2 times a week that they're requiring just for the safety of others. Because again, I mean, maybe you're young and you can like handle it, but we don't know who it goes back to after that.
We don't, but from a manufacturing standpoint, when you think of what that means, that cannabis can live on all of these surfaces for that amount of time, I've thought about it because I see the ramifications, but like you asking that question in the moment you did, with the amount of weed we had smoked, the amount of time we took to ask, it really hit me that like this happens in manufacturing. Like, people are getting sick and going to work and not knowing
Yeah.
they're sick because they're asymptomatic.
And then touching products, and then potentially.
And even though they probably are wearing all the PPE and everything, like, these are potentials and risks. And so these companies are now, like, really eating this added cost of really giving you a safe cannabis product to consume, because they're making sure that people are getting tested, and that is a heavy cost to a company to make sure you're getting rapidly tested.
Yeah, I guess that's true. The rapid part, because I was gonna say, I mean, I've actually just been going to the Dodger Stadium, and it's free. So
Right,
if anyone
and that's
didn't know
provided
that,
by the city, by the county of Los Angeles.
and it's still 24
Los
hours.
Angeles.
By the way, I got my results in 26 hours, I
Yeah.
think. So it is a free alternative, by the way, if you can't do another way.
Which you should be doing that if you can, like, if you plan on interacting with family and all of that great stuff.
Absolutely.
But, like, if you think about what that means to our industry, like,
COVID weed.
what's going to
Just
happen
kidding.
to these brands that can't take this added cost of COVID?
I mean, we're seeing that in every other industry. I think cannabis has been not an exception, but cannabis has been slightly different in that we
Right.
have seen an increase in
Yeah.
a lot of places just because more people are at home. And in the very beginning, we're
Yeah.
receiving more money
Yeah.
from the government. So it was just, I mean, come on. They literally gave us free porn and made weed essential. It's not an accident, you know? But,
Where did the free porn come from? Because I definitely didn't get any.
oh, yeah. What's it called? The most, like, leading porn site. I don't know if I'm
I
allowed to
just got
say
hair
it.
in my mouth.
Oh, ha. Sorry. Ooh, it's 555. Sorry. I know that's not what time it is
Of the leading
in podcast land, but in real life land right now, it's 555.
the leading site. Okay, so I know what you're talking about now.
Okay.
So yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, they
didn't
made
know
that free, right? And then they made weed essential.
Mhm.
But I got off on a tangent.
You did, but it was still interesting because I was like, where did the free porn come from?
Meanwhile, Victoria's like, wait, so where's the free porn?
I obviously am too involved.
I don't watch porn. You know that, right? I've told you this.
And I've told you my preferences.
Are we holding back again?
Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit.
Well, we know you're watching porn.
Stop it. Or someone in the household is.
I just feel like it's easy to just say no, but if the answer's not no,
Good point. Good point.
touche.
I love you.
Oh, I love you.
So,
Safety.
yeah,
I like how love made me think of safety because I'm a pervert.
right? That's okay. That's all right.
But no, for real, be safe with your partners, with just exposing people, just in general, especially as cannabis consumers.
Yeah.
I feel like we have an added responsibility. I feel like there's even a stigma. Ooh. And I will say, I had a family member recently, the only one I have that lives nearby, admitted that I haven't seen her as often because I'm a cannabis user.
Yeah.
So she knows I'm sharing, or she assumes, or, you know, that I'm potentially sharing pieces and joints with people. And so she was pretty upfront about, like, needing me to get tested and then quarantine before seeing them.
I'm definitely not sharing joints with anybody but my husband.
I'm not sharing joints, I think, as frequently as I used to.
Yeah.
I think I would be lying to say I haven't. There's definitely been people I've shared joints with. But I've been lucky.
You know
I've been
what?
tested.
We have shared joints, you and I.
Yeah.
I feel
we
like you
shared
are-
it on the last episode.
That's true. That's true.
For the most part, I don't. I just
But
kind of pack my
we
own.
are within close range of each other all the time. I do feel like
If
I
one
get
of us
COVID,
was gonna, we would both get it. So probably not as cautious with you.
Yeah, I you're in my pod though.
Guys, we don't know how to do it. None of us do.
No.
We don't know how to be in a pandemic. We don't know how to act accordingly. I think at the end of the day, you have to just try your best. Don't judge other people. Be empathetic.
Yeah.
Just be empathetic to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good way to look at it. I don't know. I am ready for something to happen, though, as far as vaccines, whatever. I'm looking forward to maybe a little bit of normalcy.
Oh, I don't even dare ask you what that made me want to ask.
What?
Is it too hot a topic to ask? Like, you just said you're ready for a vaccine, but I can't help but ask. I mean, I guess to my knowledge,
Yeah.
just as a just merely bachelor educated woman, nothing crazy, I thought it took at least 20 years before a vaccine was safe. So I'm not saying I'm opposed to it. I'm actually not giving my opinion. I don't know that I formed my opinion. And that's just it. I don't know that there's enough information. And I see people already being tested.
Already getting the vaccine, the first nurse in New York.
And other people. And then you hear, 3 of the people that got it got, what's that called? Cleft palate or cleft something?
No.
Yeah. No.
I know what you're talking about, though.
It's going to kill
like
me
a paralysis.
Yeah, a type of paralysis that affects half the face and causes a drooping. And we saw that 3 individuals that received the Pfizer, I'm pronouncing it's like PHFIZER.
The people that make boner pills.
Don't spell check me on that, guys. It's something close to that, all right? But the Pfizer vaccine, 3 of them got a type of paralysis in their face. I can't think of the name. And because of that, then another article came out saying, oh, but it's unrelated. And I don't know, man. I just think at the end of the day, it's so soon. And I'd like to see, I mean, the Pfizer president himself has not received the vaccination himself. And when asked why, his response was, oh, well, I'm waiting in line. That's so considerate.
But maybe he has gotten it on the down low. Let's really be real. Does anybody trust pharmaceutical companies?
No, I mean, that's so considerate in that I don't think he's getting it because he's smart and he wants to wait and see how the heck it affects people before he gets it.
We don't know because I think he probably secretly took the one that probably works 100% of the time.
Oh my gosh.
Like, that's how evil those types of corporations can be.
At the end of the day, we don't know.
We don't know, and we'll never know. But
we don't know.
I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
I just want to wait. Girl, you get it, and I'll see how it does too.
You just want to wait, but the reality is you probably won't get it anyways.
What do you mean?
There's not enough of them. We didn't order the additional vaccines that they offered to us at the time they were for sale. So no, you probably won't get the vaccine.
Oh. Well, that makes me a little sad. Isn't that funny how that flipped? You ever want to reach for a purse and you're like, I don't really need it. And then someone else reaches and you're like, I'm going to take that anyways.
You're at the way, way, way back of the line. But so am I.
Dang.
So am I.
Okay.
We're in the same boat.
I don't even want to ask you why. No, don't answer that. I just
There's a lot of reasons why, but we're at the back of the line. So our opinion on the matter actually will probably be decided for us.
Wow.
Long before we ever really get a shot to take it.
Well, and
pun intended with shot.
I know it won't be 20 years, but I still I'd like to wait and just see. I just think that's fair. I'm not opposed to vaccines. I'm not for this vaccine. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I just want to a little more research. I want to see, is that face thing happening because of it? No, I'm serious.
I know, I ain't laughing, and it's really because I'm high, but nobody wants that to happen
I don't want that. Those look like really nice people. I mean, you can't judge, but who knows?
I am right there.
They might have had
things
going on that Oh, whatever.
I need to stop laughing.
No. No, I get it. I know you're not laughing at them. No, but for real, we just don't know. And I think it's a little interesting that first it's like, wow, they all got it, and then that. And I know that, we can't infer anything.
I think enough people are going to get it for us to know, have some answers to your question.
Well, I'm not getting it till they clear that up. That's all I know. I'm not getting it until enough people get it done, and I see that more didn't get that.
I get it. So I do get the new flu shot that they issue every year for me and the kids.
So how come the flu suddenly disappeared this year?
It did not. But people are being more cautious just because of COVID. And so, like, flu, common colds, all of that, like, have had a reduction in spreading just because people have better practices now.
Better practices makes me think of something funny. So suddenly, people went nuts and started buying toilet paper like crazy people, okay? Y'all are crazy. I don't know if you thought you were going to be wiping your asses more. I suddenly thought maybe COVID causes diarrhea. I don't know. I really started thinking things like that because I went to the store and the toilet paper was out and I wasn't that upset. And I'll be real, I buy plenty ahead of time. And my mom had just given me some in a care package. So I was kind of okay, thank God. Like I stocked on toilet paper and I was good. But then as a cannabis consumer, why? Why did you guys buy all the isopropanol? I said it earlier. I'll say it again. Look at my piece. I clean it every night. I'm recycling isopropanol. I'm doing crazy things.
So we were talking about this right before we started, but the beginning of the pandemic was so different for me where I live versus where you live in LA. So I live 2.5 hours outside of LA, closer to San Diego than I do LA, and I drive to LA 3 times a week.
Okay.
But where I live, we ran out of toilet paper, we ran out of, certain things, but we did not run out of ISO. We didn't. I could find it on the shelves. I could find.
But the 90%?
Yes.
I'm skeptical. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes.
I have to see it.
If you go look under my sink right now, I probably have 4 bottles left.
I mean it when I say it. I have to
You'll see it shortly.
Bring it.
You'll
buy
see it shortly.
Bring me the ISO.
I
sound like an addict. Bring me the ISO.
I will say we did run out of toilet paper, and that became a major concern.
I got you on the toilet paper.
Oh, no. I am good now. Luckily, Amazon came through. But I also started a subscription from this company called Peach. And it's luxury toilet paper. And you know what? Now that this thing has started again, the fact that it came this month was perfect fucking timing. So, yeah. I don't know if that's been an hour.
I am here with my bud buddy, and I got to tell you, neither of us had ever heard of luxury toilet paper. But you know what?
Things got real.
A subscription box for luxury toilet paper.
Things got real.
At least she's not fighting people at the stores for toilet paper. She's like, biatches, I have my luxury and it's coming in a box to my door. I'm like, I have buddy.
Well, it was nice smoking with you guys.
Yes, on that note.
All right.
Don't be crazy with the toilet paper, people. Keep it real.
Thank you.
Have a good night.